providing progressive talk radio for our audience. We strive to be an intersectional voice for the voiceless. As a Black-owned and operated station, we are committed to highlighting diverse perspectives and creating safe spaces for meaningful dialogue. We believe that everyone has something unique to bring to these political, economic, social, and cultural conversations, and we don't shy away from the hard conversations about current events. We endeavor to be a beacon of hope and understanding, while boldly challenging listeners to think more deeply about difficult topics that impact us all. With this in mind, our mission statement at KBLA Talk 1580 is simple: to create an inclusive platform that promotes civil discourse through honest dialogue and encourages personal growth among our listeners, so they can become the active agents of change. Our vision is to establish ourselves as the premier radio network with relevant programming across the beloved community, connecting people through shared experiences and collective power for lasting impact beyond these challenging times.
I go off every time.
Shout out to Andy for locking into our earlier conversation and playing this total. We appreciate you, Andy. You were locked into hour 2 of RSVP with Jill Munroe here on KBLA Talk 1580. We are going to continue our captivating conversation with New York Times bestselling author Jeff Pearlman.
Okay.
Jeff, thank you for locking back in with us. So before we went to break, I was asking, what is your favorite scene or, storyline that is like directly taken from the book? Because obviously when you're dealing with the TV show, there are things that have to get synthesized or, combined together or omitted just because of time and, drama's sake. So what is something that is directly from the book and made it to the series?
Okay. Can I do 2 or?
Yes, you can give me as many as you want.
Okay. In the first episode of season 1, Magic Johnson is, he goes to have lunch with Jack Kent Cooke, the owner of the Lakers at the time. And Jack Kent Cooke serves sand dabs, a fish that I never heard of before working on this book, I got to say. And Magic Johnson looks at the sand dabs and he's kind of tossing it around with his fork. And he says, is there any way I can maybe just get like a hamburger?
Yes.
And
him and his
and
dad.
That's great. Yeah. And that is straight from my book. The whole sand dabs thing, everything about that was straight out of the book. And then the one that actually means a lot to me, just as a human, is I didn't know a whole lot about Jack McKinney as the first coach of the Showtime Lakers. And I certainly didn't know heading into the book about the bicycle accident when he flipped over his handlebars and landed on his head. And, when I was researching the book, I spent not a lot of time. I spent an afternoon with Jack McKinney in Florida before he passed away. And he was awesome. He was so nice. I literally, I'm not joking, I'm staring at a letter hanging on my wall in my office that Jack McKinney wrote me before he died, from March 24th, 2014, just thanking me for spending time with him, thanking me for writing the book. So this may sound corny, but there's something really satisfying in knowing that because of the book and then because of the show, there are just a lot of people who know about Jack McKinney now and know that he was part of it. People who never knew the name before. I love that. It's one of my favorite things.
That is amazing. The thing that I also love about the series is how well casted it is. For you, what were your thoughts about that? Because, John C. Reilly's performance, out of this world. There was a recent interview where Jeannie Buss was saying how much she appreciated his portrayal and that there were clothes that, were exactly like what he had at the time. And, she remarked on some of those things. That's got to be a little bit satisfying after some of the response that came out initially from the show. I think just, the shock of maybe they weren't directly involved. So it's kind of like, how dare they? But then I feel like now, once they've gotten a chance to see it, and then especially rolling into season 2, they probably appreciate it a lot more.
Oh, yeah. I think some of the casting is just mind-blowingly good. I'll tell you this. When they were first working on the show, someone called me from the show and said, for the props department, and said, do you have any idea what the uniforms that the 1979 Lakers Summer League team were made of? And I was like, how the hell would I know that?
Wow.
They're like, well, we're trying to get it right. We're trying to figure out. And they literally recreated it. When I went on set, they recreated the basketballs, not just NBA balls. Recreated the 1979-80 NBA ball. They recreated the Forum. They recreated Jerry Buss's office. Like, it was weird walking into my book, like literally walking into my book, because that's what it felt like. And they just, all attention to detail was amazing. And I think there are 3 casting jobs that blow my mind. It's the casting of Quincy Isaiah as Magic, which is remarkable, just remarkable. The casting of Solomon Hughes as Kareem is remarkable. And the casting of Sean Patrick Small as Larry Bird is remarkable. Like, they could cast those roles for the next 100 years, and I don't think they would nail those 3 people, those key 3 people, any better. And they're all unknowns. They're all people with very limited acting experiences, and they've all just blown me away.
I mean, that is amazing. And shout out to Solomon. He's from Southern California. I believe he went to Bishop Montgomery High School. Or was it Price?
Yeah, and then attended Cal.
Yeah.
Like center of Cal.
So
yeah, great guy.
Right
great guy.
One of the things that I want to ask you is that, the 80s Lakers obviously were more than just a basketball team. They became a cultural phenomenon. So when you were writing about them and about that, again, Dr. Jerry Buss is kind of responsible for the way that we even view regionally the games and things like that in arena entertainment. How did you manage to contain those stories and wrap them so beautifully when there's so many different ways that it could still go off into in the story, so that you made sure that the story didn't get lost? It felt tight, even though there was a lot of meat in it.
Oh, man, I don't even know. I mean, like, it's funny. I'm working on a new book project now, and it's just like, they just drive me crazy. Like, they're really hard, and it is like herding cats. Like, you have a million different storylines. I mean, you see with the show too, like simultaneously, you have the rise of Jerry Buss, you have the arrival of Magic Johnson, you have the discontentedness of Norm Nixon, you have Kareem starting to age, you have a paranoid Michael Cooper, like all these things going on at the same time that you sort of have to figure out a way to put together. And I don't really have a great answer. You just kind of do it and hope it works out. And every book I write, I'm not exaggerating, I hate when I hand it in. I always tell my wife, this is the one. This is the book that I just screwed up. This book sucks. This is the end of my career. And somehow it works out. I don't have a great answer. You just do it. I don't know.
Well, that is a good answer. I mean, really. So obviously you also wrote a book, 3 Rings, which is about the Kobe and Shaq dynasty. Was it easier writing that book coming off of the success of your first on the Lakers, I should say?
Yeah. I would say no. Actually, so there was a gap between those 2 books. I wrote some other books. I did a Brett Favre biography. I did a biography of an old football league called the USFL.
Yep.
And then I did that Laker book. And I just think it's much easier when guys have aged a lot. Like, the longer the time period, the happier people are to talk, because it feels less current and more like nostalgia, and like, it's kind of like if you're talking to a bunch of frat guys about the dumbest things they did in their fraternity. Well, 5 years after doing it, they're going to be reluctant to tell you. But 30 years after, it all just seems funny and like glorious.
Yeah.
And it's kind of the same. Like, when I wrote about the Showtime Lakers, a lot more time had passed than when I wrote about the Shaq Kobe years. So I think I enjoyed Shaq Kobe. I love that era. I could interview Shaq all day, every day for 100 hours and be a really happy guy. But it was not as easy as writing Showtime. And none of them are easy, but Showtime was a lot more fluid. And then also I wrote the book. The book is about to come out, and Kobe has the tragic helicopter accident, and that made it even more sort of complex. And how do you handle a book coming out after someone dies? A book that isn't always kind to Kobe as a Laker. So that it was hard. It was not a great time.
Well, I've read that one as well, and I enjoyed it too. So obviously, I'm a fan at this point, big fan. I'm locked in.
Appreciate it.
So I was looking, and it's so interesting to me that early in your career you started as a sports writer, but I didn't realize that you were kind of responsible for introducing the world to John Rocker, who was an Atlanta Braves pitcher back in the day. When you look back on that now and the controversy surrounding that and sort of, as not a jumping off point of your career, but a turning point, so to speak, could you have imagined the way that sports media has changed and the way that sort of stories are addressed and handled from that point then?
So, all right, there's a lot of weird things when I think about it then and think about it now. Number one is, like, for people listening who might not remember, John Rocker was this racist, homophobic jackass of a baseball player for the Atlanta Braves. And I did a story on him for Sports Illustrated where I spent the day with him. And he just said all these really horrible things. He called a black teammate a fat monkey. He talked about, he started slaying gays in New York City, foreigners, the whole thing. And the weird thing is, in a way, what he said compared to some of the stuff like Donald Trump has said, it almost seems like light in comparison. Trump has said a million things worse
like
than
a
what John Rocker.
precursor, yeah.
Yeah, like a million things worse than John Rocker said. And John Rocker said some awful things. And the thing I learned from that experience, that's kind of weird. It was like a first time for me, and this may sound naive. Like, he honestly just thought we were two white guys driving in a car. Like, that's what John Rocker, I'm sure, was thinking. Like, this is my guy. We're two white guys driving in a car. He's going to agree with me, if anything, because we're two white guys driving in a car. And I remember when the story came out, like, he was genuinely shocked that I wrote what he said. Like, because to him, we're two white guys in a car. And to me, I'm a reporter doing my job. And also, like, not for nothing, I'm like a liberal Jewish guy from New York. Like, you picked the wrong white guy.
Right.
And not for nothing on top of that, like, I don't agree with anything you're saying. And I'm also not in the business of protecting racists. So the whole thing was like a real educational experience for me as a journalist.
Well, we thank you for that because, it kicked off a lot. When we come forward, we will have more with author Jeff Pearlman. You are locked into RSVP with Jill Munroe here on KBLA Talk 1580.
RSVP with Jill Munroe is your go-to show for staying in the know. More engaging conversation when we come forward on KBLA Talk 1580.
Are you looking to steer your career in a new direction? Driving for the Culver City Bus can be your ticket to a long-lasting career with excellent benefits and paid training. Culver City Bus is looking for customer service and safety-minded bus operators to join the growing team. Culver City Bus offers on-the-job paid training, uniform allowance, and health benefits. Culver City Bus are now even putting their money in your pocket with a one-time $2,500 sign-on bonus. Let us connect you with an essential service job. If you enjoy driving, seek real opportunities for career advancement, and passionate about making a difference in your community, then we invite you to join the team. Start your journey by submitting an application at culvercity.org/job. For more information, visit culvercitybus.com or call the live customer service operator at 310-253-6500. Again, 350-253-6500.
The Los Angeles Urban League helps African American and others in underserved communities achieve true social parity, economic self-reliance, and civil rights. For over 100 years, Los Angeles Urban League has ensured our communities have access to careers with living wages, opportunities to start and grow businesses, and clear pathways to personal and professional growth. Programs like BizCamp, Construction Career Academy, Bob Business Ready, and B-Warp. The Black Wealth Attainment and Retention Program are examples of the ongoing events designed to make our centennial mission to rebuild Black Wall Street right here in LA a reality. To sign up for our newsletter or to support the Los Angeles Urban League with your time, talent, and donations, visit laul.org. That's laul.org. The Los Angeles Urban League is a proud sponsor of Urban Family Focus Saturdays at 7 a.m. on KBLA Talk 1580.
You're listening to K-Drip, where we play all the best classic water-wasting hits like Sprinklers in the Rain and Leaky Faucets. They're tunes from another time because now that we face a hotter, drier future, every drop counts. Despite an extremely wet winter, keep using less water, fixing leaks, and reusing indoor water for your garden. Visit SaveOurWater.com for more ways to conserve. Up next, brushing your teeth with the water on. K-Drip.
Hey, Dad, how do airplanes fly? What's in this box? Is this tree good for climbing? How are babies made? What does this thing do?
Kids are curious about everything, including guns. Talking to them about gun safety in your home is a good first step, but you can do more. Always keep your guns locked, unloaded, and stored separately from ammunition. Safe gun storage saves lives. Learn how to make your home safer at endfamilyfire.org. That's endfamilyfire.org. Brought to you by End Family Fire, Brady, and the Ad Council.
Hey, keeping you informed, entertained, and always ahead of the curve. This is RSVP with Jill Munroe on KBLA Talk 1580.
You are locked into RSVP with Jill Munroe here on KBLA Talk 1580. We have New York Times best-selling author Jeff Pearlman joining us. So, Jeff, I watch a lot of sports podcasts. Like, I'm a sports girl, entertainment girl, but I'm a sports girl. So I was recently watching Gilbert Arenas' podcast, and he had Steph Curry on there recently, and they were discussing who was better, the greatest ever, Magic or Steph. But I'm not going to ask you about that. You may have an answer, and I'll take it, but I'm going to go one step further. Gilbert said that he considers Steph's 4 rings greater than Magic's 5 rings because Magic inherited greatness when he came to the Lakers because Kareem was already there, Jerry West was at the helm, and Steph kind of built from the ground up. So I wanted to know your thoughts on his opinion on that. And of course, if you have an opinion about Steph versus Magic, I'll take that as well.
Okay, first of all, I have no beef with Gilbert Arenas at all, but I think that's insane. It's just recency bias. That's a problem with a lot of sports arguments. There's so much recency bias. Magic didn't inherit anything. First of all, he comes into a situation where the Lakers hadn't been winning. He comes into a situation where he has to play with a center who is, he's definitely on the backside of his career. He's not a run and gun center. Magic is used to running and gunning. Now he has to run an entirely different sort of, everything's going through Kareem. He has the conflict of Norm Nixon. It's not even an argument. It's not even an argument. And that's not taking anything away from Steph Curry, who's amazing.
Of course not.
But I just don't see that as an argument. I think what Magic did as a rookie coming to the Lakers, how about playing center in the NBA Finals when Kareem is out? And scoring 42 points. Come on. As for the Steph versus Magic, if I had to start a team with one player, I'd probably start with Steph, to be honest with you. But, it's really close. Yeah. I'm just being honest. No, I'm just being honest.
I totally agree with that. Like I said, LA girl, so Magic is my thing. Steph is transformative, but it's a different game now than what Magic did. And obviously Magic and Bird saved the NBA. So there's that. So through the process of, writing all of these books, seeing your career evolve from sports writer to author to now, getting adaptations of your book and your writing, how do you feel that the storytelling has held up when you look at so much now of sports media has shifted into that storytelling mode? It was always there, but now there is a much larger lane for it.
Are you talking about general, like sports media as a whole?
Yeah, as a whole, yes.
I think it sucks. I think our reliance on short, quick clips, highlights, and are going away from, I'm a Sports Illustrated child. Not only did I grow up reading it, I spent years writing for the magazine. And the idea of crafting something along and taking time and interviewing a bunch of people and really digging into it and then coming out, writing 5,000 words and teaching people stuff they never knew before and doing it through a written medium. To me, that's beautiful. All my favorite writers growing up, I think of, and sort of that impact it had on me. And I feel like nowadays that's been replaced by people staring numbingly at their phones, watching highlights, or hearing, and there's no disrespect here, but hearing a Stephen A. Smith or a Skip Bayless coming up with fake, contrived arguments because it's entertaining TV.
And it's filler.
And it's filler. And I just, honest to God, like if you looked under my bed in my office, you'll see a lot of old Sports Illustrated. And when I need inspiration, I don't go on and watch Skip Bayless. I pull out an old Sports Illustrated and read a Rick Riley story from 1996. And I really, I long for that.
Well, we are so glad that you were inspired to take pen to pad or fingers to keys, however you get yourself going when you first start out. Right? Do you use notebook? Do you handwrite anything, or are you all computer, laptop?
Oh, I do. I think when I interview people, I know. Wait, the more important thing, Jill, I think you've left out, is you didn't ask me what my next book is about.
No, that was actually coming. That was coming because I very much want to know. I know the Bo Jackson book came out already, yeah?
Correct. But I was looking at your social media feed, and my next book is my first non-sports book. And you may think to yourself right now, which would be a fair question, why is a white New York sports writer doing this as his next topic? But I'm doing Tupac.
Tupac, I knew it because you said you were looking at my Instagram, so I know what that is. I love that.
I'm 400 and something interviews in. I've spent a lot of time in Marin City, in Baltimore, in New York City. I've interviewed relatives. I've interviewed friends. I've interviewed everyone living from Digital Underground. And I'm all about I am so fascinated by Tupac.
Let me tell you, did you interview Set, his sister?
Not yet.
She is one of my good friends. And obviously, you see, I was in the video back in the day. Here's a funny story, random. Tupac actually performed at my 21st birthday party. It was at Prince's Club, Glam Slam, downtown here in L.A. And Pac, for that time period, he was like a big brother to me. So I am super excited. Listen, you might be my new favorite author, Jeff.
Well, Jill, you are 100% on my new must interview list. So just so you know.
Okay. Well, listen, we are exchanging because I am so excited to hear that. I cannot wait to hear it. But it makes sense because you're a Gen Xer. I look at the time frame when you grow up. So I can see that music could have, had an interest and an impact for you.
Wait, Jill, can we exchange real quick here? Give me your 3 favorite Tupac songs.
Okay, well, obviously, I get around just because.
It's a great song.
So I struggle with whether it's Brenda's Got a Baby or Dear Mama, because I think the thing that I love so much about Pac is, and this is obviously the 50th anniversary of hip hop, so we've had some of these conversations, is that people go back and forth, Biggie and Pac. Biggie rocked. He was, party jams or whatever, even though he talked about other subjects. But Pac, I felt, touched my soul because he spoke about things in a way up until that point we hadn't heard from in hip hop. And so Brenda's Got a Baby, Dear Mama kind of tied. And then there's a song, Temptation. So, yeah.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Nice. That's a good
What
list.
are yours? What are yours?
Okay. I would say recently, all right, this is going to be weird. It's a weird list. Number one is there's a song from All Eyes on Me called Shorty Wanna Be a Thug.
Shorty Wanna Be a Thug. Yes, and the sample, the thing. I love that song. What?
That's a good song. Number 2 would be from the Thug Life album, Bury Me a G.
Okay.
Very few people. And then I would say I Ain't Mad at You is my third.
Okay, with the piano, the DeBarge sample. Jeff.
The DeBarge cut, yeah.
Jeff, we are loving this. I am so excited. Okay? This is amazing. Well, first of all, you have to tell everyone where they can find you, social media, your website, to make sure that they catch up with you.
Yeah, I'm at Jeff Perlman on Twitter. You can go to my website, jeffperlman.com, and you can go to wherever your local tattoo parlor is and see me getting a Thug Life tattoo while smoking a blunt and drinking a brew.
Shut up, Jeff. What? That is hilarity. Listen, I want to thank you so much for taking the time to join us this evening. Really, really love your work. Obviously, I told you I'm a big fan of Winning Time. We're going to be talking to Sally Richardson Whitfield next week.
She's the best. Sally's the best.
So I am in full support of everything Winning Time. Andy? Andy is our engineer. He has a question for you.
My bad. One more question.
Oh. All right.
Jerry West's depiction. I'm just curious to know, because I know he had issues with his depiction on the first season. I'm just curious to know, your thoughts on that.
Okay. I always say this to the people on the show, because they're not journalists, and I've been a journalist for years. It's like, on the one hand, you have to understand how it must be for Jerry West. Like, you're watching the show. There's a character. It's based on you. It literally is you, played by a guy who looks like you.
Right.
And you're like, hey, that's not me. So I always understand that. But if you read Jerry West's autobiography, West by West, which is awesome, it's a great, great, great book. But if you read it, I don't even see the argument he's making. Like, he is crazed, and he is not paranoid, but he can't watch his team play, and he's hyper sensitive and really agitated. And so the guy he describes in the book is the guy who you see in the show. So I don't fully understand his complaint, except maybe he just isn't comfortable with the depiction.
I agree. I think that, sometimes it's hard to look at ourselves or whatever, but I think that if you think about like the early years and just when they would pan over and things that would be spoken about Jerry West, the executive, it was always sort of mentioned some of those things. So I don't think that it was too far out of line with that.
I agree, Jim.
And randomly, another thing, here I go. Jerry West also used to own a house in my neighborhood, so that's really crazy.
Was he hanging out? Was he hanging out with Tupac?
Listen. I have no idea, but I know, like Jerry Buss owned a bunch of apartments in Fox Hills and Marina or whatever. So a lot of Lakers then went on to move into some of those neighborhoods that were next to it, and so that's how. Growing up, they just happened to be around there. And obviously the money was a little different in the 80s, just a little bit. Right, Jeff?
Yeah. Oh, I forgot about that. They all lived in those apartments. I totally forgot about that.
Exactly. So their introduction, that Dr. Buzz had a plan and he laid it out well. Well, once again, I want to thank you again so much for your time. I love your work. I can't wait to read your next book, Tupac, and we are continuing to support Winning Time. And thank you for the inspiration for them to create this series, because your work is outstanding. We appreciate it. So thank you for joining us.
Yeah, and I'm sorry again for showing up late, Jill. I really am.
You are here, so that's all that matters. Better late than never. Thank you so much, Jeff Pearlman, for rocking with us at RSVP with Jill Munroe. When we come forward, we will have more trending topics and headlines. You are locked into RSVP with Jill Munroe here on KBLA Talk 1580.
Trending topics and the hottest happenings. You're listening to RSVP with Jill Munroe on KBLA Talk 1580.
I'm Esther Dillard, and here's the latest from the Black Information Network. Hurricane Idalia is impacting Georgia. The National Hurricane Center says the storm will continue to move across southeastern Georgia. Idalia made landfall as a Category 3, the strongest hurricane to hit Florida's Big Bend area in 125 years. President Biden says he plans to reach out to Republican Senate Minority Leader Mitch McConnell after he appeared to have another freeze moment. While speaking to reporters today, Biden called McConnell a friend. There are concerns about the 81-year-old Republican's health after he suddenly stopped speaking during a press event in Covington, Kentucky. And President Biden is pledging $95 million to harden Hawaii's power grid against national disasters. This comes after Maui was devastated by wildfires earlier this month. And that's the latest. I'm Esther Dillard from the Black Information Network and BINnews.com.
At Southern California Edison, they're installing insulated power lines and using the latest technology to help keep our communities safe from wildfire. Learn more at sce.com/mitigation.
KBLA Talk 1580 is dedicated to empowering our communities by providing progressive talk radio for our audience. We strive to be an intersectional voice for the voiceless. As a Black-owned and operated station, we are committed to highlighting diverse perspectives and creating safe spaces for meaningful dialogue. We believe that everyone has something unique to bring to these political, economic, social, and cultural conversations, and we don't shy away from the hard conversations about current events. We endeavor to be a beacon of hope and understanding while boldly challenging listeners to think more deeply about difficult topics that impact us all. With this in mind, our mission statement at KBLA Talk 1580 is simple: to create an inclusive platform that promotes civil discourse through honest dialogue and encourages personal growth among our listeners so they can become the active agents of change. Our vision is to establish ourselves as the premier radio network with relevant programming across the beloved community, connecting people through shared experiences and collective power for lasting impact beyond these challenging times. KBLA Talk 1580. We've got a lot to talk about.
KBLA Talk 1580 reminding you that we keep us safe. The Center for the Pacific Asian Family was founded to help address domestic violence and sexual assault in the Asian and the Pacific Islander communities. The Center for the Pacific Asian Family's mission is to build healthy and safe communities by addressing the root causes and consequences of family violence and violence against women. They are committed to meeting the specific cultural and language needs of the Asian and Pacific Islander women and their families. CPAF's vision is of an Asian and Pacific Islander community that embraces healthy relationships and works in partnership with other communities to eradicate all forms of violence. To access services, volunteer, or for more info, visit nurturingchange.org. At KBLA Talk 1580, we believe everyone deserves to be safe. This is a community call to action from KBLA Talk 1580.
The Chase Ink Business Premier Card is made for people who make things happen, like me. I'm Sam, founder and CEO of Manifest, a product design company that makes everyday products designed smarter. I get 2.5% cash back on purchases of $5,000 or more, plus unlimited 2% cash back on all other purchases, which helps us make more smart ideas into a brilliant reality.
The Ink Business Premier Card. Learn more at chase.com/business premier. Chase for business. Make more of what's yours. Real business owner compensated for their participation. Account subject to credit approval. Restrictions and limitations apply. Cards are issued by JP Morgan Chase Bank, NA member FDIC.
Hello, I'm Will Jimeno. I'm a retired Port Authority police detective and a 9/11 survivor. For 13 hours, I was buried under the rubble of the World Trade Center. I was rescued thanks to brave people who were willing to put their own lives on the line to save mine. For 9/11 this year, a National Day of Service, I'll be paying it forward by taking time to help others. Please join me by doing your own good deed that day. Visit 911day.org.
A lot of schools talk about training the cybersecurity workforce of the future, but do they really deliver? My Computer Career has been supplying the IT workforce with thousands of skilled, certified pros for 15 years. Train with the experts in support, networking, or cybersecurity, and start your career in months, not years. Upskill even faster. On campus or live online. Qualified students may get financial aid, including the GI Bill. My Computer Career. Accredited, acclaimed, effective. Take the free career evaluation at mycomputercareer.edu.
The possibility of lung cancer can be pretty scary, especially if you're one of approximately 8 million current or former smokers at high risk. That's why SaveByTheScan.org wants you to know that now there's a breakthrough low-dose CT scan that can detect lung cancer early, and it only takes 60 seconds. You stop smoking. Now start screening. For an easy quiz to see if you're eligible, visit SaveByTheScan.org. It could save your life. SaveByTheScan.org is brought to you by the American Lung Association's Lung Force Initiative and the Ad Council.
KBLA Talk 1580. curating the most compelling stories and delivering them straight to your ears. You're listening to RSVP with Jill Munroe on KBLA Talk 1580.
They wanna be, shorty's gonna be a thug. Said he wanna be, but they's gonna be. Said he's gonna be, shorty's gonna be a thug. Said he's gonna be, but they's gonna be. Said he wanna be, shorty's gonna be a thug. Said he wanna be, but they's gonna be. Said he wanna be, shorty's gonna be a thug. Was a nice middle class thuggin', but no one knew the evil he do when he got a little bigger.
You know I'm always down for a little bit of pop. Shout out to Andy. You know he always keeps us lit. And shout out to our guest, Jeff Pearlman. We got you with Shorty Wanna Be a Thug by Tupac.
He's invited to the barbecue.
Jeff is definitely invited to the barbecue. We appreciate Jeff.
He's somebody that I would love to play Black Heart Revoked with.
You really?
No, I always I love bringing out that game when non-blacks are there.
I think he would have some good answers.
I think he would win.
And we know that he researches. So listen, I'm telling you, if you haven't read, first of all, you need to be watching the HBO show. I've been talking about this all season.
It's a really good show.
It is an amazing show. I think that there are 3 more episodes left in the season. It's also available to stream on Max. There are 7 episodes this season, whereas season 1 there were 10. I'm going to tell you right now, I've seen the entire season because I'm a TV and film critic. You know, membership has its privileges, darling. And so it is incredible. It really is a great series, great writing, and the source material, that book, incredible.
And even if you don't like sports and you're into historical, it's like a historical documentary of what happened, in the times of LA and NBA overall.
Actually, that is so on point because there's so much information about how Jerry West, changed the look and the trajectory of the league. The league was failing when Magic and Larry Bird came in, and they turned it around, and all the things that Jerry included. Check out the show and read the book.
Bomb.
Okay. Andy?
Trent, you answered my question because I know you're not a sports guy. I was just curious to know what was it about the show that captivated you, considering you're not a sports guy.
Oh yeah, well here's the thing. I remember growing up, I watched my mom and my uncle yell at the TV in the summers for the Bulls and the Lakers game. So that was my connection to sports. And then I like documentaries and historical things. So being from LA and having that a part of my childhood, it was good to revisit it, just to see how true to form it was, because I was there for it. So it was good to see.
That's what's up. And then a question for you, Jill. You being a Tupac guy, I'm just curious to know when you heard that he got shot in Vegas, were you one of the when he eventually passed away, were you one of the individuals that felt like he was still alive?
No, because, I had a relationship with his sister and later with his mother. So, that type of pain, you don't, maybe someone does, but it didn't strike me as, pretending for the moment. So, true story, one of my really good friends was, at the time, really good friends with Kadada, Pac's fiance. So she was actually in Vegas. So, as soon as it happened, she called us and let us know what was going on. So, we heard, kind of what was going on from this side, a little bit, and then the other stuff. It was just, a lot of things. We are coming up on, 27 years on the 13th of this month. The 8th is when the shooting happened. He lived for, I believe, 7 days. Okay. Ironically, the Machiavelli album that was released was the 7-Day Theory, which is probably why Andy was asking me that question. Just seemed too perfect, and to come together, conspiracy theories and so forth.
It was too much of that going on.
It was, the rumors were swirling.
Machiavelli, 7-Day Theory. What was it? Machiavelli 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Remember all the Machiavelli? I'm just saying, it was just too much. And then the autopsy picture, people was like, "Oh, that tattoo wasn't right there," and all that other type of stuff. So.
I don't know. I just, when you, obviously with anyone, but if you see someone's parent or, sibling in that type of pain, you just, there's no room from that perspective, at least for me, to think that it could be any other thing, all things aside, right? So that was just how I took it. Now, we have another topic for this hour, and this is a hard left. I'm just going to let you guys know, a hard left. We're going someplace totally different now because, we've been on our sports thing, a little bit of Tupac, a little bit of old school hip-hop.
You got me nervous.
I mean, you might be. So first up, we're going to talk a little bit about Neo's ex, Monyetta Shaw. She is currently on The Real Housewives of Atlanta. They are gearing up for their reunion show this weekend. There are talks that they are going to reboot the franchise and start all over. I'm not sure if she will be a part of it or not. But in a recent interview, she shared what the breaking point was that really kind of took down her relationship with Neo. And it is of a sexual nature, and we're going to listen to the clip, and then we're going to talk about this.
You got to educate me.
Yeah,
He was cheating.
Well, he wasn't ready.
Okay.
So, yeah, we cheated together, if that makes sense. And then it just wasn't enough, and I was like, well, no, I didn't sign up to do this every day.
We cheated, so you cheated.
No, baby. I mean, like, we did things together. So, it's not cheating if you're involved with it.
Oh.
Yeah, like the little.
Okay.
Hey, y'all. She classy, but she got the other side.
Okay.
When she want it.
A lady in the street.
Whatever it's gonna be. Yeah.
And
maybe.
whatever in the
Hi,
street.
Maybe. Hi.
Wow.
Anyway, so no, but like honestly, I'm just very multifaceted, and that's where I was at that time. But it's became a problem when you want that, a lot. Like maybe I'll give you maybe twice a year, But or
it was like
3 times. But it's like
too much for you.
Yeah, it was too much. I'm like, if you want that, you don't want me. It was making it seem like I'm not enough. And
wow.
And I'm like, okay, well, I grew up with a loving father, thank God, and a loving mother. So, I know my self-worth. Even though we can lose it because, baby, I lost myself after, the breakup and, having kids because my parents, before she passed, they would have been married for 50 years, and that's all I saw. So that's all I wanted, and so I was devastated.
So they cheated together. We know what that means. She kind of explained it and so forth. And, she said the requests started to come too frequently for her. So, and they weren't married. They were just dating. They do have 2 children together. There's the whole thing. She's currently married now, though. She is remarried. Well, not remarried. She is married to someone else. She got her tubes tied. There was controversy about that because Pac ended up getting with someone, Crystal, who was his wife. They're now divorced and having children with her. So, Trent, I just want to know from you really quickly. We'll get more into it when we from the other side. But really quickly, what are your thoughts on that clip?
Girl, number one, you could have kept it to yourself if y'all wasn't married. And you got a whole separate husband, you could have kept that to yourself. We didn't need to know that right now. However, since you said it, I think sometimes we have to have these experiences to actually know exactly what we want and what we don't want and what we're willing to tolerate and what we won't. So it was an experience that she needed to have to get her to the husband that she wanted.
Okay, I like that. I mean, here's the thing. One, I do agree with you. We've talked about this several times, and they do have children that will at some point hear this or friends who will take that in. I don't know how much we take that into consideration in this era of being totally transparent, right? But if she wanted to do that, and she didn't sound as if she was implying that she was goaded into the situation or that that she wasn't with it. It was the frequency of it. But are you of the belief, and I'll get your answer to this when we come forward, that as soon as you explore, other areas within your relationship like that, especially when it comes to the bedroom, that you are automatically setting your relationship up for failure? We will get into that when we come forward. We will get Trent's answer.
I'll just give you a soft yes now.
You'll give me a soft yes now.
Yes.
Well, we'll get into the details when we come forward. You were locked into RSVP with Jill Munroe here on KBLA Talk 1580.
Infusing a sense of fun and entertainment in every episode. You're listening to RSVP with Jill Munroe on KBLA Talk 1580.
More when we come forward.
Joey,
from Vermont, a farmer trying to get through the winter. Adriana from South Carolina, a single mother living paycheck to paycheck. Liam from Ohio, an injured father struggling to provide for his family. Hi, I'm Shanola Hampton, and I support the Feeding America network of food banks because they help provide over 6 billion meals to people in need each year. Learn more at feedingamerica.org.
KBLA Talk 1580. We've got a lot to talk about.
The rent is too damn high. KBLA joins you in calling for affordable housing. The LA Tenants Union is a diverse, tenant-led movement fighting for the human right to housing for all. The LA Tenants Union demands safe, affordable housing and union rent control. They organize against landlord harassment, mass evictions, and displacement, and mobilize for the repeal of the Ellis Act and Costa-Hawkins Act. The LA Tenants Union is on a mission to strengthen tenants' political power through education, advocacy, and direct action. To get help with your eviction or other landlord-tenant issues, take action for justice, or become a member, visit latenantsunion.org. This is a community call to action from KBLA Talk 1580.
Get in the zone, AutoZone.
Welcome to AutoZone. What are you working on today?
My car really needs a wash.
The $20 McGuire's bundle includes Gold Class Car Wash for a showroom shine.
Get in the zone.
And what about my tires?
Just spray the included Hot Shine tire coating and you're all set.
Get in the zone.
The inside is not great.
No problem. The quick interior detailer in the bundle can help with that too.
Get in the zone. AutoZone.
Restrictions apply.
Some people won't give you the real talk on drugs, but it's time we know the facts. Fentanyl is killing people. It's a powerful opioid, often made illegally and commonly mixed with illicit drugs. It can even be pressed into counterfeit pills that resemble prescription medications. Just 2 milligrams, about the size of a few grains of sand, could potentially be lethal. This isn't an ad to scare you, but it is an ad to make you think twice. Get the facts. Go to realdealonfentanyl.com. This message is brought to you by the Ad Council.
KBLA Talk 1580. Talk radio. That's music to your ears. We're unapologetically progressive. KBLA Talk 1580. Now back to more captivating conversation on RSVP with Jill Munroe.
You are locked into RSVP with Jill Munroe here on KBLA Talk 1580. Remember, if you want to call in, if you have any commentary to add, we always like that. 800-920-1580, 800-920-1580. Of course, hit us up on all of our socials, KBLA 1580. I'm at Stiletto Jill. Trent the Artist, because Trent is our contributor in studio like he is every Wednesday night, ready to keep it real and drop these facts. Before we came forward, was speaking to Trent about Monyetta Shaw, and she revealed that in her relationship with Neo, part of the reason that caused them to break up was that they cheated together. And that at some point, the request to cheat together became a little much for her. And so I wanted to know from you, Trent, do you believe that if people, explore all aspects of their relationship, as they are entitled to do, if that is of their interest, that it automatically spells doom and disaster for the long term?
On the surface, yes. However, you guys could both be cheating together and decide that it's not something that you guys should do or want to do anymore. So, there's that aspect. But I think most of the time, I think in her situation, she was doing something to keep her relationship happy and in order and to please her partner, and it backfired on her.
So you don't think so? I mean, because that's what a lot of people say happens with women when they become involved in situations like that. I think the general thought process for a lot of people is that the woman is not really interested in that aspect of a relationship. She is involving herself simply to keep a man or to satisfy him or what have you. And that is true. in some instances, but in some instances it's not. But do you think that inevitably it says something about the other person's feelings about the person in the relationship that's asking, like that they're not enough for them or that they're unfulfilled in some type of form?
One could gather that from that situation. I would definitely feel like that. It's like I'm not enough. Like, I mean, come on, let's But again, I don't think it has any reflection on her. I think it's more so to do with the person that's making the request and the demand.
And I mean, we see the situation that Neo ended up with. Anyway, he ended up cheating on his wife.
Would you be with Neo if he drove a Geo?
Would I be with Neo if he drove a Phantom? I don't think so. So it kind of doesn't matter. I'm selective.
We know that.
So speaking of kind of along these lines, but still in the vein of relationships, I was having a conversation with a good friend of mine the other day.
Yes.
And, randomly we were talking about a bunch of different things. And the topic came up of spinning the block, giving it another go with someone that you may have dealt with in the past. And you guys broke apart for whatever reason. So, Trent,
You have been coming up. You've been hitting me with these relationship things lately. I mean, what's going on, Jill?
What is going on is, one, on your podcast, In the Mix with Trent.
Oh, so you listen.
On the podcast, Trent, you frequently discuss relationship issues and things that are, have happened in your life and things of that nature. So, I do not delve too much into those topics for whatever reason.
Yeah, I mean, I get it.
And so, you're here. So
yeah.
I hear something you mentioned on your show. I'm like, that would be a good topic to discuss with Trent. So
yeah.
What do you think about spinning?
Thanks for listening, number one. And I do like to talk about different issues that we don't like to deal with on my show. Things that are very uncomfortable sometimes. It depends on what type of block we're spinning here. Are we talking about relationships or are we talking about hookups?
I mean, either, both,
because
maybe.
it's a different category, and the two are not exclusive.
So, okay, so it's easier to spin the block then, as far as a hookup, because it's just a hookup. And
I know what
there's
I'm getting.
Not too much attached to it. Just
Well,
could be good.
Here's the thing: there is attachments in sexual relationships only. There's an attachment there. That's why you'll keep doing it and going back to each other because there's an attachment of some sort.
Is it an attachment or is it convenience? I
don't think it's convenience because some of the people that I spend the block with is not convenient for us. So it's a matter of I'm going here because I know what I'm getting and I like it because it makes me feel good.
Okay. Urban Spencer says, "No, ma'am, it's a trap."
Relationship wise, sure. Like I'm not spinning the block. With anybody that I've been in like a serious relationship with.
Really?
Oh, absolutely. And don't y'all get no ideas because y'all left the side of my DMs talking about don't be talking about me. I'm no chance.
So
it's over.
Why would you spin the block with a hookup but not with a relationship?
You know why? Because
I mean, same principles apply. You know the person.
Yes.
You know what you're getting.
Yes.
You know what you like.
Yes.
Okay.
It's less emotionally involved, and because you have a clear definition of what this is. This is only this component of it. And it's clearly defined. There's no emotional attachment. Yeah, it is.
But we just said. But here's the thing. I just said that there's no attachments, and you said sometimes there are. So are there or are there not? Because I think that sometimes
they're not as involved as of the relation emotional attachment.
You don't think that sometimes that is what people say to themselves to make do of a situation that maybe, I mean, now granted, there are some people where you're like, I would never get back with you, but I like, our physical interaction. So I'm low, I'm dry, I'm in between, whatever.
No.
No.
Because that is what the jump offs are for that right there. Okay. And
so I'm saying, spinning the block with
the jump off, sure, but with somebody that I dated and we were in a relationship, and here's the thing, lots of times in relationships, people don't make necessary changes that broke you guys up, and they don't want to do the work to fix that.
What if they've done the work? I mean, because here's the thing, what if like somebody you were dating in your 20s, right, and you reconnect with them? Like, let's say you were dating someone at 22 and you run into them at 35. That's a lot of life experience. That's a lot of growth.
It's so funny that you bring it up because on the last season, season 7 of my podcast, the very first episodes were about an ex that applied for a job that I was running.
Okay.
So, and this is, we met in our 20s, and here it is 20 years later. Nothing has really changed with that person.
Okay.
So I was like, yeah, okay, I did my due diligence here, right?
To see if there was any growth.
Yeah, and it's you're the same person.
Was the chemistry still there?
No.
No. Okay.
Mm-mm.
And do you think the chemistry was no longer there because you've grown as a person?
The chemistry was not there because I not only grown as a person, but I'm still in love with my ex.
Oh, well, that's a whole nother conversation.
Yeah.
So you do believe in spinning the block?
At the time, I was in love with my ex.
Okay.
Yes.
So you do believe in spinning the block?
No. Only if there has been significant change. It's like, oh, you're different.
So there, but
it has to be like you have to show up different. Like, I mean, and I'm talking about
absolutely.
You have wait what?
Who is this?
Who is this? You're new.
Introduce yourself.
Hi, how are you? You know, if it's not that, I'm cool because I already know what I'm getting.
Urban Spinster says soul ties are real.
I think that's the sexual thing.
And our homie Mackie, you don't think that soul ties sexually are the only way that attachments can happen? Okay.
No, not at all.
Okay. Mackie Samuel says, if a couple decides to spin the block, would you suggest that they go to couples counseling to help them build a healthy relationship the second time around? I think that's an excellent question. It probably depends on how serious that they are. I mean, if you were just reconnecting with someone and you're exploring, you're seeing if this could potentially be something serious, maybe if you decide to really take that step and enter into a committed relationship, then, you would consider counseling. But if you're just kind of dating around or checking it out, that seems like a big commitment to make for just the exploratory phase.
Yeah, and I'm even thinking about, there's only like one viable relationship that I would like actually go back to, right? And there probably would have to be some type of, therapy or something because that's It
was traumatic?
No, not that it wasn't. It was not traumatic, but I think that when people, you come together on a certain level and then one person grows, the other person stays here, right? And there's this thing going on. If you want to come back to that, you're gonna need some intervention, some third party intervention to make that work because that person that's not rising up to meet the challenge, they're gonna cause problems, and it's gonna be chaotic.
Well, when we come forward in hour 3, that is the after
Hour
hours.
3?
We
are
are
there
going to
already?
have more conversations about spinning the block. We're going to talk about Method Man and his keys for longevity in marriage and, some other topics. All of that and more. You are locked into RSVP with Jill Munroe here on KBLA Talk 1580 News and Sports. Up next.
So listen, part of me, my heart don't beat no fear, and it ain't hard to see. The future's looking dim. I'm trying to make a profit out of living in the sin. I'm in the dark getting buzz, looking for some love out with the homies. Cause shorty wanna be a thug. Gonna be, said he's gonna be. One day he's gonna be. Shorty's gonna be a thug. Said he's gonna be. One day he's gonna be. Said he's gonna be. Shorty's gonna be a thug. Said he's gonna be. One day he's gonna be. Said he's gonna be. Shorty's gonna be a thug.
KBLA 1580 Santa Monica.
I'm Esther Dillard, and here's the latest from the Black Information Network. Hurricane